We must be here to be for the people who cannot be here. There are so many people, 30% of Santa Maria cannot be here today out of fear. My team members' parents cannot be here today because they are scared. My parents cannot be here today because they are scared.
At 17 years old, Cesar Vasquez, who you just saw there in that video, isn't even old enough to vote. But he's out of the house by 4 a.m. each morning, joining a group of local residents to patrol the streets of his Central California town for ICE agents. For Cesar, it's personal. His parents are migrant farm workers, and in his hometown of Santa Maria, ICE has been particularly aggressive. The nonprofit group 805 UndocuFund estimates that ICE has taken hundreds of people from Santa Maria since Trump took office. So Cesar will wake up, often before the crack of dawn, to make sure nobody, especially not his parents, is taken from his community. Back in February, Cesar led a walkout of high school students protesting ICE raids. He also runs an immigrants' rights group called La Cultura Del Mundo. And through that group, Cesar organized protests last Friday under the banner, Heroes, Not Villains. In 28 cities across 17 states, people rallied. Cesar spoke in his hometown of Santa Maria, but supporters also marched in places like Wichita, Kansas, and in Portland, Maine, nearly 3,000 miles away from his hometown. Cesar's movement has gone nationwide, and he has big plans for what's next, which I'm excited to talk with him about. And joining us now is Cesar Vasquez, organizer of the Heroes Not Villains rallies and founder of the group La Cultura Del Mundo. I've so been looking forward to talking with you, and we have been so inspired by you on our team. I just want you to know that. So I know this is, well, thank you. I mean, I know this is very personal for you. But I just have to say, I mean, for adult citizens who have power, it can be very hard to stand up, and very hard, certainly, to stand up to agents in tactical gear and face coverings. What made you decide to stand up and to really dedicate yourself to being somebody who wanted to lead this movement in your community and beyond?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for having me here and taking your time, to interview me. I started because my community needed hope, right? There have been more families than I can remember where I have had to speak with them. I have seen multiple families separated right in front of me. There have been instances where I have had to remove 6- and 8-year-olds off of the medical account because they were deported, right? Having to send baby clothes to Mexico because an unborn child was deported, right? And so that's what keeps me going. That's why I wake up at 4 a.m. to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
You are, as I noted, you're just 17, and I'm going to keep repeating that. You have people who have joined this movement in your town and across the country who are much older than you. But what has been the response from your peers, from your classmates, from people who are your age in your community?
They have joined, and a lot of people across the United States have joined because they are so scared, right? Right now, everyone is looking for that little glimpse of hope, and it's up to everyone to create those glimpses of hope for their surrounding communities. I mean, because if we don't create the hope, then no one else will give it for us. And right now, what we're seeing is that so many people across the United States are finally starting to rise up and starting to be against the oppression that we have felt for hundreds of years.
You started this in your town, of course, as we've shown and we've talked about. It's kind of expanded into dozens of cities and towns across the country. What has that been like for you? And what are the main goals that all of you are really rallying around?
We call this movement the people's dream because for so many years, for so long, people have been fighting for the American dream. And I'm sure that a lot of the audience feels that the American dream isn't there anymore. And so we're pushing for the people's dream, a system where the people are truly listened to, where they are truly valued, and where the people are leading the country that they are living in. And so that's what we're here fighting for, the people's dream. And it's crazy. I'm 17 years old, and a lot of my firsts have been because of this. I mean, the first time I got in my own car was to go to the ICE office and to see what ICE agents were there. The first time I was on the freeway, on the highway, was to chase an ICE agent, right? So a lot of my first as a kid, as a teenager, has been to fight for the community.
I wanted to ask you about that too. I mean, you kind of you're doing this because there are these ICE agents are terrorizing people in communities. People are scared, as you've talked about. People in your community are scared. How much do you feel like this has kind of taken away your ability to be a teenager, and that of your friends too, and the people in your community? And I ask this because I think it's important for people to understand you're just 17, you're waking up at 4 a.m. and kind of leading a movement. You shouldn't have to do that right now.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me why I do this, and I say that I do this so that no other 17-year-old has to do this. I started organizing when I was 12 years old. I've accepted that my childhood has been taken away from me, and that is nothing compared to the childhoods and the lives that are being taken from a lot of these 6 and 8-year-olds where their mother's being deported or their father's being deported. And so in a lot of ways, it sucks that I don't get to have my first as a dumb teenager, but I go to sleep every night and get the very limited sleep so that no other 17-year-old has to do this.
Cesar Vasquez, I don't know how you do it. I'm incredibly inspired by you. I imagine everybody watching is. It's really powerful. So thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being with us tonight. It's late, and you have to get up early. So thank you again for joining us.